Hey there, Vinny from Project Frugal. How would you like to be wealthy? I certainly would. Let's check it out together. A wee while ago, I made a presentation that was showing you how to get wealthy and all the tips and tricks that I've learned over my time of trying to generate wealth through the FIRE, financial independence, retire early mechanism. Let's follow through on this particular presentation and see how we get on. So, you want to be wealthy? Well, you're off to a great start. You've come to the right place. Let's check it out on the presentation. First thing you need to realize is, where am I at? First of all, you're going to have to look at what your net worth is. And if you don't know, if you've got no idea, I suggest writing it all down on a bit of paper. All your assets and liabilities. You must start with a budget. Before you do anything, you've got to work out how much income's coming in, how much you're spending on various things such as food, gas, housing, rent, whatever it is, car, you name it, you've got to work it out. If you don't work it out, you've got no idea what you can achieve. You've got to ask yourself the question, where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And more importantly, where do you want to be in 10 years? Because all of this is going to take a long time to action. Make sure you know where exactly you're at, and that's a great starting point. Let's talk briefly about assets and liabilities. So assets give you money, liabilities take money away. Is a house an asset? Yes and no. You have to pour money into a house in terms of maintenance, rates, insurance, all that sort of stuff. Over time though, however, the price does go up, so technically it's kind of an asset. Is a car an asset? Well, unless it's a classic car, probably not. It's going to cost you money, it's going to depreciate in value. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Another thing to look at is something like a PlayStation 5. Is it an asset or a liability? Well, I'd have to say it's an entertainment device, we all know that, but it's not really an asset. Yes, it does have some resale value, but over time, once they bring out the PlayStation 6, the resale value goes down, the next model comes out, so on and so on, the cycle continues. What about a phone? Well, it's pretty much the same thing. Apple's always releasing versions of phones. I can never keep up. I've got no idea what they're up to now. Is it version 15 or 16 or 14? I think it's at least 15. Could be 16, I'm not sure. Definitely a liability. It might be something that you need, but you've got to ask yourself the question, are you buying assets or are you buying liabilities? Here is an example of a very old net worth calculation. This is when I actually made the spreadsheet, so we're talking, well, it's 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. We can see there, if you start to track it on the first of the month, that's pretty much a really great time to do it, because no one forgets when the first of the month is, generally speaking. So in this case, we've got the 1st of the 1st, 2019, it could be 2024, let's hope it is. Put down all your assets, whatever they might be. It could be, in this case, it could be a car or it could be a house. If you want to go down that route, you don't necessarily have to. Could be your money you've got in the bank, cash on hand, all that sort of thing. Liabilities are pretty obvious. Any bills that you've got, credit card debt, any consumer debt. Here's an example of a budget. This is one that I put together. It's not exactly my budget. Well, it's quite similar. I'd have to say it's quite similar at the time, possibly. Although, well, I wasn't actually paying rent. Haven't paid rent for 20 odd years now, so which has been good. But this is a good example of how to do a budget on a spreadsheet. Put all the pretty colours in. It makes it a lot easier to read. You can just divide things up. You can chuck in your rent. You calculate everything to a weekly average, and that way you know what you've got going out in terms of regular bills. So in this example budget, because it is not exactly my budget, some of the figures were correct. $664.79. We've got some one-off bills here, which could be a dentist bill or an ACC bill or a tax bill or whatever bill it is. Obviously, you've got your weekly income. So in this example, we're using $1,400 a fortnight as an example, $700 a week. Well, there's not much room in the budget. $35.21 left over. However, $35.21 is better than no dollars left over. So we've got assets, $1,580.50, total liabilities. We've got the calculation of the net worth here. You could put this on a new tab on every spreadsheet, i.e. if you're starting on the 1st of January, you could call this the 1st of the 1st, 2024, for example, and then copy it all across onto the next month. Keep going and update your budget as things change, because obviously prices go up over time. You've got inflation, all sorts of other things. Maybe you've got some things that you add on to the budget, as it were, or maybe things that get removed over time. such as, for example, this one personal loan here, maybe that gets paid off and that's no longer on the budget. So a good way to keep track of things is to definitely keep track of things with a budget. And we're moving on to another month here. We've got another month. Things have progressed. The personal loan is still same amount of money. The income is still the same amount of money. The net worth has decreased. This was an example from the summary on the earlier slide. We're down to a net worth of negative $459.50, and moving on to another one. It's another month. We've actually got a positive net worth in this scenario here. The personal loan's gone down to $1,900 in this scenario. Everything else is pretty much the same. We've still got our $35 left a week after taking all these bills out. We're moving up in the world. We've got a positive net worth, and once this $1,900 goes, this $84.51 goes off this particular budget. We add that on to our $35.21, and all of a sudden we are closing in on how much is that? Well, that's about $120 a week left over, which could be invested earning actual real money. A good thing to have is an emergency fund. I've said this in previous videos. If you want to watch a good one, check this one out here. Make sure you have a reasonable amount for life's unexpected occurrences, because these things can happen at any time. We've got a fully funded emergency fund for 1 year's of expenses. That's pretty much around about $25,000. It's actually slightly over that, but we just keep that aside. It does earn interest. It's in a Heartland bank account. It's earning currently, well, the last time I looked, I think it was 4.6%, could be up to 5% now. So it's a good rate of return, even though inflation eats all that up and you've still got to pay tax on it. We're not looking to use it as an investment vehicle. It's simply there for an emergency. If I lose my job, or I need to do something else, or we need emergency money for whatever, it could be a funeral, could be we need to get another car, could be an urgent trip. Well, probably not going to be an urgent trip, but it could be. Could be any one of those things. We've got the money put aside. We don't have to tick it up onto a credit card. We're not going to be paying additional fees, anything like that. Sitting there, waiting and ready. If you go under the emergency fund amount and say you use some of it, it's always a good idea to pay it back as soon as possible and build that level of emergency fund up again. How much emergency fund do you need? Well, it's entirely up to you. I would suggest a good starting point would be to get at least $1,000 into an emergency fund, into an account that you wouldn't readily access all the time, i.e. not your day-to-day account, but a separate account, the one that we've got. You can't access it directly. You can draw the money out, but it won't go into your regular bank account until the following business day, which is fine. It's perfect. It works well. Start off small, get at least $1,000 in there, and even if you're just drip feeding it, maybe $10 or $20 a week just to build it up over time, that's perfectly acceptable. And that's exactly how we started out. We were putting, I think it was $25 a week, something like that into it, just to start it off, just to start building it up. And when we had some more free money, we just really went hard, slammed money into it until we built it up to where it is today. And now we don't have to put any more money into it. We've done it. We've got an emergency fund, fully funded. When you're doing your budgeting, the first thing you really want to do if you want to build wealth is you need to get out of debt. There's two main methods. There's the debt snowball method. What you do is you list all your debts on a bit of paper, whatever it is, on a spreadsheet. You start paying off every debt, the minimum amount, and you start with the smallest debt first. Once you've paid off the smallest debt, you move all that money that you were paying into the smallest debt onto the next biggest debt, and so on and so forth, until probably, if you've got a mortgage, that's probably going to be the last debt that you get rid of down the track. The debt avalanche is a slightly different method. You're still listing all your debts, except this time you're paying the minimum amount on all of them, just the same as the other one, but you are paying the highest interest rate first. This is good because it does actually clear the debt quicker. However, other people recommend paying off the littler debts first just to get some quick wins, which gives you the psychological advantage of carrying on quicker. My preferred method was pretty much a combo of both, but mainly leaning towards the debt avalanche method when we were getting out of debt. It took us 5.5 years to pay off $173,000 altogether. That included the mortgage, consumer debt, credit cards, the works. But we got there in the end. Now we have no debt. Now, in terms of balancing the budget and living cheaply, you're going to have to live cheaply if you want to maximize your money. Things that we've done, we go to a veggie co-op, so we get a certain amount of vegetables a week, which is cheaper than buying them from the supermarket. Sometimes you get random things like a daikon the other day. Never had one of those before. It's some sort of vegetable type thing, but we put it in a salad. I didn't really taste it, to be honest. It was probably fine, I guess. I didn't die, so that's a good thing. Buying in bulk or on special, that's something we always do. Anytime we go to the supermarket, if something's a really good deal, for example, the other day they had 800 grams of bacon at the supermarket. It's a brand that I'm aware of and that I've bought before, and it was $10 for 800 grams. Why not buy 10? Why not buy 20? You know, if you're going to use it, if it's something that you regularly eat, something that you enjoy, something that can store for a reasonable amount of time, chuck it in the freezer, save yourself some money up front, buy it now, don't worry about it. Growing your own food is something that pretty much anyone can do, even if you're in an apartment, it doesn't matter, you can set up a bucket, chuck some dirt in it, slap a few seeds in it, and Bob's your uncle. Shopping around for better deals, we've done that with absolutely everything in terms of cars, insurance, power, phone, you name it, we've done it. I've looked at all the stats and I've really, well, have I enjoyed it? I don't know if I've enjoyed it. I've got lots of different quotes from many companies for particular service levels, and I've gone with whatever's the best deal in our situation, ultimately reducing the costs that we give other people. And essentially, that's what wealth is about. How much money are you keeping for yourself versus how much are you giving other people to build up their wealth? With Christmas just around the corner, what you can do is a thing called Secret Santa, where you get all the adults in your family that you're going to buy gifts for. You just buy one gift and then you make it a fun sort of event where you've got the one gift, everyone opens a gift, everyone gets at least one gift, you can swap it as you go around the circle. Just have a quick Google if you're not sure how it works, but it's going to save you a lot of money. Why buy a whole lot of stuff that essentially is good for a couple of hours and then everyone forgets about it and hoo-ha, life moves on. In the meantime, you've spent a fortune on stuff you didn't need and stuff other people didn't want. So Secret Santa, definitely for adults. I don't want anything for Christmas. I'm happy just to maybe have some roast lamb, maybe a roast chicken, maybe a roast ham, maybe some roast potatoes, and just enjoy the day, not working. It should be good. When you're buying things, buy only needs and don't buy wants. Anything that you need, you need. Anything that you want, well, you could buy it, but do you really need it? That's the big question. So that's the criteria I pretty much apply to everything that I'm going to buy. Do I want it or do I need it? That's my criteria first of all before I even think about buying something. If you can avoid it, never accumulate more debt unless it's an emergency and you've got no other choice. It's definitely advisable to not have debt, because debt is like a set of chains to lock you down, which will trap you and make you a slave. I don't want to be a slave. You don't want to be a slave. So if you can do it in cash, pay in cash only. If it's something like a house and you're going to incur debt, that's pretty much okay. But you've got to make a smart decision on what sort of house you buy. Don't go over your budget. Don't spend more than you can afford to repay back, because you might lose the lot. And live within your means. Second-hand is good, but not always. Some things you definitely need to buy new. Socks and undies, good example. Shoes, you can get some good deals on second-hand shoes. I bought them before. I've saved a fortune. I bought a pair of shoes. They'd been worn once. They were brand new condition. They were a third of the price. Win, win, win. Other certain things may not be so good if they're second-hand. It really depends on the item. But if it's a need, well, weigh up the options and see if you can get it cheaper second-hand. Now, increasing your income will definitely help your budgeting. Get a second job if you can. If you've got enough time to do it, it doesn't have to be a high earning job, anything like that. It could be minimum wage, it could be a part-time cleaner, anything like that. Get a better job with more pay. That's always a winner. A good way to increase your income. There's always opportunities online. I sold hats, straws, Wi-Fi smart internet plugs. I didn't sell too many, but I did make some money out of all of those items as I've got listed there. There's always opportunities if you're willing to put in an effort, and it doesn't have to pay a fortune. For example, the hats, they were 5 minutes work each. I made $5 per hat. So I was making essentially $60 an hour for a pretty easy job, I gotta say. And although I might have only sold maybe anywhere from 1 to 20 a week, it still adds up, right? So if you're making $5 a week or $100 a week, something that takes pretty much not a lot of effort, it's a win. And if you're in some sort of career that doesn't pay a lot, why not go and study? Why not make a sacrifice? You could study part-time, you could maybe even ditch your job and study full-time. If you're lucky enough to be in a country like New Zealand, you can get a student allowance and, well, get a bit of money for studying. And why not? Because if you can increase your income, hypothetically put 50% more of income on what you're making now, but you have to sacrifice a year to do it, is it worth it? Absolutely it is. And finally, if you've got any unused items around the house that you no longer need, no longer want, why not sell them, turn them into money, use the money to pay off debt, or potentially invest the money? Why not? Get there faster. If we have a quick look at cars, buy what you can afford. Our car out the back, or out the front, whatever you want to call it, it's a $3,000 car. It's not the greatest car in the world. I'm not keeping up with the Joneses, that's for sure. We paid for it in cash. It gets us from A to B. In fact, it got my wife up to Whangarei and back. No problems at all, apart from when it got stolen. That's another story. But we did manage to get it back, and now we have to actually start it with a kitchen knife. But that's okay. We're not buying another car. We had 2 cars, we're down to 1 car. We're halving our cost in terms of insurance, running costs. We don't need 2 cars, we can survive without it. We've got public transport not far away as well, if we need it. If you get something that's later than 2000 in New Zealand, then you only have to get a warrant of fitness once a year. So my advice is to get something at least probably 2003 or later, because even 2003, that's a 20-year-old car. It's quite a long time ago now. And if you can, obviously get a smaller car because it's going to be cheaper to run, and it's probably going to be cheaper to buy as well. So my advice there, pay cash, get something within your means that you can pay cash for and will do the job. Let's have a quick talk about investments. There's various things that we can consider as investments. We've got solar on the roof. My calculations indicate that it's a 12-year payback. It could actually be possibly longer. It could be a 15-year payback. Is solar worth it? Well, it's really 50-50. It really depends on your circumstances. If you got spare money to put into it, I'm really sitting on the fence with this. It's really 50-50 in terms of, would I get it again? Probably. Yeah, but it's not going to be the great money spinner that you think it might be. Trees, if you invested in some forestry, for example, you've got an initial outlay cost. You could make a fortune, but it's going to take a long time for these trees to grow. It could be 20 years, could be 40 years in terms of pine trees in New Zealand. Other investment options, lotto. Let's talk about lotto. For every dollar you invest, you're likely to get 40 cents back. Well, it's probably not even that much, to be honest. It's probably actually less than that. So it's not a good investment option. You can get a bank account. Generally, they don't pay much interest, as we show here, 0% to 2.5%. Term deposits do pay more, especially in the current economic environment at the moment. We're getting 6.4% on one of our term deposits. We've got $1,000 that we'll put in every now and again. When we've got the money, chuck it in there, 6.4%. Take the tax off that, you're still left with $41.33 if I'm not correct. I think I am correct. That's after a year of investing. Shares is what our main investments are into. Yes, they can go down. The chances are they'll go up, and they're probably the best risk-reward based option that we have invested in. And also, if you're a Christian, why not give some money away? Why not help someone less fortunate than you? If you believe in the Bible, why not 100-fold your money? So in summary, make a budget and stick to it. That's the first thing you need to do if you want to build wealth. You're going to need an emergency fund. There's no two ways about it. See if you can find ways to increase your money and save more of your income. Plenty of ways to do it. Grow your own food, etc., etc. Cut down on your costs, utility costs, power costs, internet costs, all that sort of thing. See what you can save. Definitely get out of debt. That's the biggest hindrance to building wealth. You must get out of debt. You must have a budget. You must ideally increase your income, and you must save as much as you can and invest it wisely so it can work for you. Invest and generate wealth. If you want some further resources, check out Dave Ramsey. He's got 7 baby steps of how to build wealth. I followed some of them before I knew about Dave Ramsey. Didn't do it exactly like him. It does work, and it gets the majority of people out of debt into a good financial position. Check out sorted.co.nz. They've got plenty of calculators, and we follow the FIRE method, which is financial independence, retire early. Plenty of videos on YouTube about that particular scenario and topic, so check them out and build wealth yourself. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you really enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed making it. Hope to see you in the next video. We'll catch you later. Have a great morning, evening, night, wherever you are. Catch you later.